Aparna Deshmukh had always believed she understood the shape of her life. She had moved from Pune to Seattle after marrying Rohan Malik, a man who won over both families with his polite manners and ambitious plans. At first, their days felt balanced and ordinary. Aparna focused on her data analyst job, while Rohan spent long hours showing houses to clients. They hosted dinners, shared weekend chores, and planned future vacations. To everyone around them, they looked like a couple with a stable marriage and a bright future. Yet beneath the calm surface, small cracks began to form, cracks that only Aparna noticed, and only because she paid attention to details the way analysts do. Rohan started coming home later than usual, claiming unpredictable client needs. His phone, once left on counters and tables without a thought, suddenly became a guarded object he kept in his pocket even at home. When he received messages, he tilted the screen away from her. When a call came, he stepped outside to answer it. Aparna felt the first sting of suspicion when she found a restaurant receipt in his jacket. It was dated on a night he told her he had dinner with a coworker. The bill showed 2 entrees, a dessert, and a bottle of wine. Rohan rarely drank wine, and he never ordered dessert. It didn't fit his usual habits, and that inconsistency stayed stuck in her mind for days. She tried convincing herself that she was overthinking the situation, reminding herself that marriages go through phases and people keep secrets that are harmless. But the doubts refused to fade. Instead, they expanded, fed by new observations: his sudden interest in buying expensive clothing, the smell of unfamiliar perfume on his shirt, the quiet smile he wore when he thought no one was looking. The turning point arrived in the most accidental way. One morning, while cleaning his car before a road trip he claimed he had to take for a real estate seminar, Aparna discovered a hotel receipt wedged under the passenger seat. The date matched another late-night work excuse. The payment was processed using their joint credit card. She felt her stomach tighten as she read the room description: a king's suite meant for more than one person. That slip of paper broke the last thread of hope she had been holding on to. She placed the receipt in a drawer and sat on the couch for nearly an hour, her mind moving between disbelief, anger, and a sense of calm she couldn't fully explain. The calm came from clarity that her life was not what she thought it was. After the initial wave of shock passed, a different feeling settled in. It wasn't sadness. It wasn't rage, at least not yet. It was purpose. Aparna knew this betrayal was deeper than a moment of temptation. It was deliberate, planned, and ongoing. She felt something shift within her, something sharp and unyielding. She decided she would not confront him immediately. Instead, she would watch, gather information, and follow the truth wherever it led. Unknown to Rohan, the quiet, observant wife he thought he could deceive had already begun the first step of a path that would change their lives forever. Aparna waited until Rohan left for his so-called seminar before taking her next steps. She had spent the previous night lying awake, replaying every odd detail from the past few months. Each sign, each inconsistency, suddenly aligned into a pattern that could no longer be ignored. She began exploring his laptop, which he had carelessly left at home. Rohan believed he had mastered secrecy by guarding his phone, but he underestimated how much could be uncovered through email notifications, synced accounts, and autosaved data. What Aparna found was enough to end any remaining doubt. There were receipts from restaurants she had never visited, ride-share trips to unfamiliar addresses, and photos of gifts she had never received. Her breathing became shallow as she opened an email thread with a woman named Lena Torres. The messages were not explicit, but they were intimate enough to reveal the truth: Rohan was meeting Lena regularly and spending significant money on her. Aparna scrolled through Lena's public social media next. The woman was a yoga instructor with a growing online following, known for her bright smile and serene captions. But buried between her travel pictures and wellness quotes were hints of a secret relationship, posts showing expensive necklaces, scenic dinners for two, and cryptic lines about new beginnings with someone who makes my heart steady. The timestamp of those posts matched the nights Rohan had lied about work. Aparna studied Lena's face carefully. She wasn't angry at her appearance or her lifestyle, she was angry because Lena represented a separate life Rohan had built with care, while neglecting the life they were supposed to share. The betrayal had layers: emotional, financial, and personal. Finding their joint account records confirmed the financial damage. Rohan had transferred money to a private account she knew nothing about, and from there he had funneled smaller amounts to Lena. The precision of his steps made the betrayal feel colder, almost strategic. Aparna closed her laptop slowly, feeling the weight of the truth settle firmly in her chest. But instead of collapsing, she felt herself growing sharper, more focused. She realized she needed to know more about Lena's daily habits, routines, and vulnerabilities, not out of envy, but out of preparation. The next morning, Aparna drove to the neighborhood Lena lived in, using one of the ride-share receipts as her guide. She parked near the building and observed quietly from her car, noting the entrances, the security setup, and the flow of people coming in and out. She discovered Lena taught at a nearby yoga studio and had a predictable schedule. With every detail she collected, Aparna felt her mind organize itself into something colder, more calculated. She wasn't planning violence, her intentions were different. She wanted accountability. She wanted consequences. She wanted a form of justice Rohan had never imagined she was capable of delivering. As Aparna pulled away from Lena's building, she no longer felt lost or shocked. She felt certain. In just 1 week, she had the time and the clarity to create the outcome she believed both Rohan and his mistress deserved. Aparna dedicated the next 7 days to careful, quiet preparation, shaping her plan with the precision she normally used for complex data projects. She woke each morning with a sense of purpose that pushed aside any emotional turbulence. She treated the situation like a problem to be solved, not a wound to be nursed. Her first step was gathering evidence, real, traceable information that could not be dismissed or twisted against her. She began by copying Rohan's emails, bank statements, and private account transfers into an encrypted folder on her own laptop. She took screenshots of Lena's social media posts and saved images of every gift Rohan had purchased. She created a timeline of their secret meetings using receipts, location logs, and date-stamped photos. Every piece of information she organized made the betrayal clearer and the path forward sharper. Next, she hired a private investigator named Clayton Ridge, a man she found through a professional networking forum. She presented her request as a business-related background check, pretending she was verifying potential partners for a new analytics project. Clayton didn't ask many questions, and Aparna made sure to avoid details that could reveal her true intentions. Within 2 days, he provided her with Lena's basic information, her lease contract, her employer's details, her daily studio hours, and even the entry system used in her building. Aparna paid him promptly and stored the documents in her folder. The information was invaluable, but she remained careful. She wanted revenge through strategy, not violence. She began subtly separating her finances from Rohan's. She moved a large amount of money from their joint savings into an individual account she had opened months earlier for emergencies. She worded the transfer as a protective measure in case of market changes. Rohan, busy with Lena and his double life, barely noticed. Aparna also contacted their accountant to request copies of all past tax filings, pretending she wanted to learn more about their long-term investment structure. With each step, she made sure that if anything collapsed, she would stand untouched while Rohan would be left exposed. Toward the end of the week, Aparna visited a local store and purchased a small toolkit, a pair of gloves, a portable scanner, and a basic voice recorder. She selected items that would raise no suspicion, things any homeowner might buy. She didn't intend to harm anyone physically, her plan depended on information, not confrontation. She understood that destroying Rohan emotionally and legally required precision, not chaos. She drove to Lena's neighborhood on a rainy evening, using her practiced route to avoid drawing attention. She sat in her parked car, studying the entry keypad from a distance. Clayton's report had included the building's maintenance schedule, which listed the generic access code used for deliveries. That code was all she needed. She memorized it, then drove home with a calm sense of progress. By the 6th day, Aparna had every detail lined up: financial evidence, access to Lena's apartment, a record of Rohan's secret accounts, and a clear understanding of their patterns. The final step was determining exactly how to use it all in a way that would unravel their lives from the inside. On the 7th morning, as she reviewed her carefully built files, she felt something she had not felt since the discovery began: control. She realized the power she now held was enough to change everything, and she was prepared to use it without hesitation. Aparna waited until the end of the week to put her plan into action. She chose Friday evening because she knew Lena would be out of town for a yoga retreat, a detail she had confirmed through a social media post. The timing was perfect. Rohan would be busy attending open houses all weekend, which gave her a wide window to complete everything without interruption. The air felt unusually still as she drove toward Lena's apartment building. She parked several blocks away to avoid being remembered by any nearby residents or cameras. A slow drizzle softened the sound of her footsteps as she approached the entrance. The delivery access code worked exactly as expected, and the door clicked open without resistance. A calm certainty settled over her. Inside, the building was quiet. Aparna moved carefully, avoiding sudden movements that could trigger cameras or draw attention. She used Clayton's floor plan to navigate the hallways, reaching Lena's unit quickly. Lena's door lock was simple, and Aparna used the tools she had purchased earlier to ease it open. Once inside, she paused, letting her eyes adjust to the dim light coming through the curtains. The apartment had an airy, minimalist look: yoga mats stacked neatly, soft colors, candles, and motivational signs on the walls. It was a space designed for peace, but for Aparna, it symbolized deceit. She began searching the apartment without disturbing anything essential. In a drawer, she found documents related to Lena's rental agreement and a folder containing receipts for gifts that matched the items she had seen in Rohan's email history. She scanned everything using her portable scanner. Each document added to the growing narrative she was building, one that would tie Lena directly to Rohan's secret financial dealings. The next step was crucial. Aparna pulled out the voice recorder and placed it behind a decorative vase positioned on a high shelf. She tested it briefly to ensure it picked up the ambient sound. She didn't need dramatic confessions, she only needed casual conversations between Rohan and Lena that hinted at joint financial decisions. She knew from past emails that they had discussed future plans together, and she expected the recorder to capture something incriminating over the next few days. Her most strategic move involved accessing Rohan's hidden accounts. She sat at Lena's small dining table, opened her laptop, connected to the apartment's guest Wi-Fi, and logged into the accounts using the pattern-based passwords she had cracked earlier. Once inside, she transferred a significant amount of money from Rohan's private account into Lena's account, mimicking the style of previous transfers. Then she scheduled multiple automatic transfers for the following week. The digital trail would make it appear as though both were knowingly involved in coordinated financial activity. Before leaving, Aparna sent an anonymous message to the bank's fraud department, reporting suspicious movements linked to both accounts. She used a VPN and a newly created email profile, ensuring that nothing could be traced back to her. As she stepped out of the apartment, she felt a peculiar calm, neither joyful nor sorrowful, just steady. She locked the door behind her and walked away without looking back, knowing the first phase of her revenge was complete. Early Monday morning, the consequences of Aparna's work began unfolding with a speed that even she hadn't anticipated. Rohan woke to a series of urgent alerts from the bank, each marked with words like suspicious activity, fraud review, and temporary account freeze. His private account, the one he believed perfectly hidden, was under investigation. Lena's account was flagged as well, and both were immediately contacted by bank representatives. Aparna stayed silent as she watched him spiral into confusion, pacing around the living room, refreshing his emails, and muttering under his breath. She observed from a distance, her expression steady and unreadable. The web she had constructed was beginning to tighten around him. By noon, investigators reached out to both Rohan and Lena for clarification. Because the transfers were scheduled and originated from accounts connected to each other, the case looked coordinated. Aparna had spent days ensuring the timestamps, amounts, and pattern resembled an intentional financial partnership rather than random activity. The voice recorder she had planted in Lena's apartment captured casual conversations between Rohan and Lena when they met on Sunday night. Their words were simple, references to future plans, shared expenses, and discussions about moving money around when the time was right. To them, it was romantic planning. To investigators, it was collaboration. On Tuesday, Rohan received a formal request to appear for questioning. Aparna pretended to be surprised, offering mild words of comfort and acting as though she knew nothing. Her calmness made Rohan uneasy, but he had no space to process it. He left home early the next day, visibly stressed, wearing a suit that only made his panic more obvious. As he spoke to investigators, his explanations began contradicting each other. He had no reasonable answer for the transfers, no clear justification for the hidden account, and no way to deny his connection to Lena. Meanwhile, Lena, confronted with the same questions, panicked under pressure. Her statements unintentionally made Rohan appear more involved, as she tried to distance herself by placing responsibility on him. Aparna watched everything fall apart from the outside. She provided the investigators with copies of tax documents, bank statements for the joint account, and proof of her own financial innocence. Her calm, organized manner made her appear cooperative and responsible. She never had to reveal the betrayal or the affair, the financial evidence alone was enough. By the end of the week, the investigators had linked the suspicious activity to Rohan's private dealings and his relationship with Lena. The case triggered legal complications for both of them, ranging from financial misconduct to potential fraud. Rohan returned home defeated, his reputation shaken and his career at serious risk. He expected Aparna to stand beside him, but instead she filed for divorce the very next morning, citing financial dishonesty and emotional abandonment. Her documentation was thorough, her timing flawless. The court favored her, awarding her the majority of their shared assets due to Rohan's misconduct. As she packed the last box from their home, Aparna felt no triumph, only a clear, quiet satisfaction. She had never raised her voice, never touched violence, never acted impulsively. She had simply taken the truth, shaped it with precision, and allowed the consequences to unfold. Rohan and Lena were left with chaos of their own making, and Aparna walked away with her life intact, her future open, and her sense of justice fully realized.